Coming up on Omnivore, artificial intelligence hits food product development, health-conscious cookies, and exploring bean flour in baked goods. It's all ahead on episode 46 of Omnivore from the editors of Food Technology Magazine and the Institute of Food Technologists.
This episode of Omnivore is brought to you by IFT membership. Connect with our diverse community and discover a world of new opportunities. Explore the benefits of membership at ift.org/membership.
Welcome to Omnivore from IFT and Food Technology, where each episode we explore the intersection of business, science, and technology in the global food system. I'm Bill McDowell. Before she was approached by the Almond Board of California to develop a new food product, chef and food scientist Rachel Zemser hadn't had a lot of experience using artificial intelligence outside of dabbling with ChatGPT now and then. Food Technology's Kelly Hensel recently chatted with the founder of food product development consultancy A La Carte Connections about her growing experience with AI and the potential she sees for it as a tool for food scientists and product developers.
So before you started working with the Taste GPT tool for the Almond Board of California project, I wondered how familiar were you with AI tools such as those and just in general?
So I was familiar with AI tools, mostly in the form of Chat GPT, and I started using it to help me to generate information on general information about trends, about ingredients. But if I just wanted to say, hey, at the last trade show, like Expo West or Fancy Food Show or something like that, what were all the trends that we're seeing in with almonds or with confectionery flavors? It would give me some good feedback, and it would just kind of save me the time from having to dig in and go onto the website and find that information myself.
Obviously, Taste GPT is the tool specifically that you were working with for the Almond Board. And as you kind of started on that project, if you could just tell us a little bit more about how that project went. Did you have any big aha moments in terms of what you were getting from the tool and how you were able to utilize that?
My role with the Almond Board is to come up with ideas that would make sense to a food scientist to utilize almonds in something that could be made shelf stable or something that could be sold as a retail item. They have a paid account with TasteWise, and together we would go into the website and we would look for just using the Taste GTP. I would ask it questions that were generated from the assignment that they gave me, and the assignment that they gave me was to come up with some ideas that would appeal to the millennial generation. What's popular, what are popular food items with them, and how can we create a recipe that uses almonds that would connect with them based on using TasteWise to figure out what those trends are and what are some popular recipes and different themes. So one popular trend was, related to fried foods like French fries and dipping it into an aioli mayonnaise.
Yeah.
And I had to kind of combine it with my own knowledge. And I had just been to Expo West, and I had seen quite a bit of almond oil on the market now. And I think it's a direct result of the newfound popularity of almond protein powders, or AKA defatted almond flour, where they're pushing all the fat out and they end up with a powder that's higher in protein and higher in fiber than just regular almond flour. And there were several other ideas that I came up with, and the only one was not the one that we ended up selecting to move forward. But I also, was reading a lot about the trends related to millennials liking to travel and liking authenticity in, in products that are created, with other countries in mind. And at the time, about a year or so ago, I had visited Mexico, and I had seen just a lot of really interesting products related to chocolate.
Mm.
And there were lots of shops in Mexico, in Oaxaca specifically, where you could go in and basically grind your own combinations of
Wow.
chocolate. Like you could combine sugar and almonds, and if you wanted, and
Yeah.
or vanilla powder and the cocoa nibs,
Huh.
and they would grind it all up for you right there on the fly. And it wasn't like just cool hip people going in, because I could see that happening if a shop like that opened up
Sure.
in San Francisco. But it was like regular grandmothers going in and getting a big old bag of like brown mush to go home to make their moles and their sauces.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so I just thought that was something that I could see, showing up here in the US at some point in the future. And I just started using this idea of authenticity, and that I had been reading about on Tastewise, authenticity and different kinds of cuisine. And I came up with the idea to make a drink that they call the champorado drink. It's a Mexican drink that has basically cocoa powder, sugar. Some of them have some starch in there, and they all are thickened with like a corn masa type flour.
Okay.
But to make it a little bit healthier and just kind of put a twist on it, we decided to try one with almond flour as the thickening
Yeah.
component instead of corn. Why not? And it ended up working really well. And we had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, so Tastewise kind of helped me get to the trends and the ideas,
Yeah.
but then Tastewise is not really a AI website that will help you generate formulas. Like I
Right.
can't go in there and say, generate a formula for me. I had to still do that part of it. It was more about the trends and the ideas and the marketing and menu items. What's in the spotlight? What are people blogging about? What are they writing about? What did they write about this week or last year?
Yeah.
And you can really kind of hone in on all of that marketing data to help come up with ideas.
I love that it it used in combination with all of your experience and your travels and everything that you've seen and know about, really is what made it that much more powerful, obviously. It sounds like it could save time in terms of like all that brainstorming work, help you kind of concentrate in on an area pretty quickly. And I imagine that's how other food scientists and culinary professionals and R&D chefs, are using it or will be able to use AI tools in the future. Is that how what you see coming down the road, or do you think you'll be using anything like that again in future projects?
I think that Tastewise, I don't think it's being necessarily marketed towards food scientists to do their R&D.
Okay.
But it seems like it's being maybe geared more towards the marketing departments and the teams that exist within food companies to help come up with the ideas, which they then would hand over to the food scientists. Now, of course, there are a lot of food scientists that are a part of that figuring out process, especially if they're a food scientist with a culinary background or a chef/food scientist that is interested in, trends and ideas. There are companies that are now creating tools specifically for food scientists. And I wanted to just kind of mention a little bit about that, because that is, I don't think Tastewise is exactly that. Tastewise is great for a lot of things, but not necessarily for creating like a formula. But Tastewise would direct me to different blogs and different recipes that people put, and I could use those and maybe create my own formula from it. But there's quite a few new companies. One company I've been doing some, they call it beta testing, where they ask food scientists to kind of pre-check it out and, give us like their thoughts. This one company I'm working with, Agilitas, they are creating tools to replace things like the spreadsheets that we use to generate percentages and formulas and things like that. And they're tying it into ways that we can reverse engineer formulas. I mean, it's still very new and there's still work to be done.
Yeah.
It's not 100% ready yet, but they're getting pretty close. And I'm just amazed at what they've been able to put together so far. I never thought it was possible that there would be an alternative to a spreadsheet, but they're creating spreadsheets. They're also creating nutritional software programs to help us generate nutritional panels. I think there's going to be a whole slew of new ones as well coming from these AI companies. And they're going to make it even easier where I can say something like, hey, here's my formula, create a nutritional panel for me.
Yeah.
And even to the point where they're pulling in ingredients from different databases. It's really early days right now, but it's moving so fast. And this, I think, is going to be completely groundbreaking for food scientists.
That's really exciting. And such a, I mean, talk about taking like the parts of a job that you maybe don't look forward to doing, like calculating formulas and spreadsheets, and making that so much easier so you guys can focus on the creative aspects of your job and really get to the heart of it. So that sounds very promising. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. I really appreciate it.
Founder and principal of A La Carte Connections, Rachel Zemser has 28 years' experience in food product development, commercialization, and safety needs. Learn more about how Zemser and other industry experts are incorporating AI into their product development work in the October issue of Food Technology. We'll be back with more Omnivore in a moment, but first, this word from our sponsor.
IFT is the convener of the global food system. As a member, you'll cultivate your professional network within our global community, stimulate new ideas with the latest research and trends, and accelerate your growth with expert training and resources. Why wait? Visit ift.org/membership to join IFT today.
Welcome back to Omnivore. I'm Bill McDowell. If you give a consumer a cookie, there's a good chance they might actually want that cookie to do more than just satisfy a craving. Health-conscious consumers are looking for their food to deliver more value and benefits, and that even applies to their indulgences. Omnivore's Emily Little spoke with Shica Little, founder of Dr. Shica's Bakery, about the growing trend of healthy treats.
Dr. Shica, I am so excited to talk to you today about the category of cookies.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's start off with some of your background. Could you tell me a bit about your story and how you founded this company?
Yes, so I'm Dr. Shica with Dr. Shica's Bakery. Hence the name doctor. I'm not a medical doctor, but I have 3 degrees in education. I was a school teacher, a college professor, and then when I actually worked in the field of education management, I actually lost my job, which led to me opening up my bakery at that time.
Yeah, and what inspired the bakery, specifically your love of plant-based and vegan ingredients?
Yes, so I had always been baking as a child. I would bake during the summer times with my mother and grandmother. And some of my stories go all the way back to I remember being the age of 10 and asking my grandma if I could use a can of her biscuits so I could actually make donuts out of them. So I would take the can of biscuits, poke a hole in it, fry it on both sides, and I created the cinnamon and sugar mixture. And everybody in the family loved it. And I was about the age of 10 at that time. From there, I got my Easy Bake Oven and just really enjoyed baking ever since. My mom is a baker, still in the same small town that I'm from, and she still makes cakes for friends and family. So I come from a baking family.
Yeah, I think baking specifically has such a way of bringing people together. I don't know what it is about the pastry, the sweet, but it really does bring people together and you have those memories.
Yes. I mean, especially, with the recipes that we bring, we use a Southern inspired recipe, and Southerners, we love things that are rich and tasty and great ingredients and real eggs and butter and everything, which brings me back to plant-based.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about your cookies. You know, when someone sees your product at the grocery store, what are they getting?
So basically, our plant-based cookies are first and foremost delicious. Every recipe that I created is based on delicious flavor. And if it's not delicious, then we're not going to put it out there because my face is on it, and I don't want to make anyone mad on their taste buds. So the plant-based industry in general is, been increasing with the number of people who are maybe dairy-free because our product is dairy-free, it's egg-free and nut-free, which also checks so many boxes because not just for plant-based people, it's just for people who may have allergies to the other things that I just mentioned. Also, along with that, there may be people in the house who are not dairy free, and we want everyone to love it. So we created a product that universally can be loved across the board because we focus, number one, on flavor.
Yeah. And I think you touched on so many trends that were mentioned in the article that your number one flavor, we want to have an indulgence, but also people who may have some dietary restrictions or even choosing to remove ingredients still have the option.
Yes, absolutely.
What other trends are you seeing right now in the cookie space?
Wow. So in the cookie space, I would say that, lower calorie, that's one thing that we also pride ourselves on. Like, for example, our chocolate chip cookies are only 43 calories, our sugar cookie, 47. We have also oatmeal raisin, and we also have lemon cookies. But for the most part, people are looking for a way to snack and snack responsibly to where they're not just consuming like so many calories in one sitting. And this is perfect for it. Because again, one cookie being 47 calories, pretty nice size cookie. And then it's reclosable. So you can just zip it back up, put it back in the cabinet and forget all about it until tomorrow.
Yeah. And I know you also really pride yourself, like you said, on using those authentic ingredients. Why do you think that authenticity is so important?
Well, I think that, just being from the South, everybody has a grandmother that they remember who didn't use phony ingredients. The grandmother used the best ingredients, the best butter, the best eggs, the best everything. And really, there's no difference today. I mean, the best ingredients, meaning more natural ingredients, usually taste more like a homemade product. And that's been our goal is to make sure it doesn't have an artificial flavor or artificial taste. And people can really pick up on that pretty fast whenever you're tasting something artificial or tasting something better for you.
Looking into, that crystal ball that product developers love to see, where do you see this cookie space going in the future? What do you think is going to be the next big thing?
Wow. I know where we're going with the next thing is we're going to actually continue this trend that we are already doing, which is dairy-free, egg-free, nut-free, but we're also going to do gluten-free as well. And so, coming up with something that still tastes delicious, it doesn't have a grit to it, doesn't have like an aftertaste, really gluten-free. I mean, I think that's like the next level for our product to make sure that we're free of all allergens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was looking at research for this article, and the gluten-free market is just skyrocketing right now.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like people have like, allergies to gluten and sometimes they don't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to the line that we currently have, if you need to take it that one extra level, then definitely gluten-free is the next step for us.
Any other trends that you see in the future with this space?
Wow. I just really, with us, I see we already have cookie mixes. That's another thing in the cookie space.
Yes.
Our cookie mixes are amazing because you would only just add vegan butter and water. And then you just mix it up and it tastes just like a fresh homemade cookie. So that's another thing that I think that people who want to take it to the next level and be able to have something, even a more fresh experience, then baking them at home, we make it so easy. As far as the trend itself, I feel like companies are going to continue to play around with the different flavors, because you're just not limited to chocolate chip, oatmeal, and lemon or sugar confetti. Those are like the main staples. But what we want to do is take it another level, bring out our red velvet cookie soon, our German chocolate cookie. It's just so many flavors and things that we can do that are fun flavors, but also tasty and delicious as well.
Absolutely. I think those decadent flavors will
Yes.
never go out of style.
Right. Who's going to turn down a chocolate cookie, right?
And I love what you said about the mixes. That's something I'm looking at really closely. One of my colleagues described it as some assembly required because people still want to feel like they're cooking, but it's so much easier.
Yeah, so it's like the ultimate shortcut. And I was making our cookie mixes with our grandson a couple of weeks ago. And he was like, okay, do we have to add all of these things? And I'm like, no, we just add butter and water. He was like, that's it. I was like, that needs to be our tagline. That's all. It's just so simple. You just pour it in the bowl, put the butter, water in there and mix it. So you don't have to add an egg or anything like that. And, people who like to bake with their kids, you don't have to worry about like getting out like 10 or 12 ingredients. I mean, we've simplified it, but still give you the opportunity to be able to enjoy something fresh.
Dr. Shica, thank you so much for chatting with me today, and good luck with your bakery.
Thank you so much for having me.
Shica Little is the founder of Dr. Shica's Bakery. She's been active in the food industry for over 15 years and advocates for minority-owned businesses. You can read more about the latest trends in the cookie category in our October issue. Beans are an important crop in Canada, and they boast an excellent nutritional profile. But they're not necessarily living up to their potential as a food ingredient. Two scientists at the University of Guelph in Ontario, Canada, are working to change that. Research by Iris Joye, an associate professor in the food science department, and PhD candidate Navneet show that heat treatment could make bean flour a more versatile, functional ingredient in baked goods, something that would create new formulation options for makers of gluten-free foods. Joye and Navneet discuss their findings with Food Technology's Mary Ellen Kuhn.
Dr. Joye, reading your university bio, I saw that you enjoy home baking. Did that influence your decision to research the properties of bean flour? And what did trigger your interest in the bean flour research?
I do enjoy home baking for sure, but I'm usually not using bean flour. And I think that is one of the drivers as well why we actually embarked on this project together with Navneet. So beans are very important for Canada and especially also for this region, Ontario, and we don't use it to its full potential. So I think we were looking into, in this project, and Navneet will be able to tell you more, but we're looking into increasing the different products, food products that you could be making with beans, right? For now, a lot of it ends up as being canned beans, or maybe additions to, for example, soups and so on. But one of the, so this is a project that actually involves multiple different research projects. So it's one overarching one that is focusing on beans. One of the strategies that we looked into was making bean flour in order to have a more versatile ingredient that next time when I do my home baking, I will be able to use a functional bean flour.
That's great. Would you say that beans are a little bit underestimated as a food ingredient?
Yes, I do think they are underestimated. They're not understudied, I think, because we know that they are nutritionally a very good source of proteins, for example. We also know that it makes sense from an agriculture point of view to plant them because they do help soil health for sure. But I do feel that they are a little bit underutilized as a food ingredient for sure. And I think that is part of why we are doing this project, because we want to give it an additional techno-functionality so it becomes a very attractive food ingredient.
Well, Navneet, could you tell us a little bit about how you came to be working with Dr. Joye on the project?
So the initial idea of this project was developed by Dr. Joye. And I remember in the very first meetings or project meetings that we had, she briefed me that, we want to look at physical processing technologies in this project. And the one interesting question that she asked me during that time was, do you think there are enough good gluten-free products available in the market? So I didn't have the right answer for it, for sure, because I was new to Canada and definitely new to Canadian market. So I decided to go to different grocery stores and look for different bakery products and see, how the products look and what ingredients go into those products. So the first thing that I figured out that these products were very starch heavy. They had a lot more starch from different sources, and they were a cocktail of very different chemical ingredients, emulsifiers, oils, and whatnot. So we knew that this is not the direction we want to go to. We want more clean label products where we don't really have to use different chemicals to make a good bakery product. And that's when we thought that, if we talk about physical treatments, we have temperature processing technologies that we can use. And we decided we are going to study two different temperature treatments, such as dry heat and then more sophisticated, more cool extrusion technology, and see where the project leads and what different interesting results we could get out of it.
Well, that's a great explanation. So now would you tell us a little bit about what you did learn, where the project did lead?
Okay, so our major finding from this project was that different treatments, different processing technologies lead to flowers with different physical and functional properties. That means by using different parameters, you can create flowers that you can use for maybe cake flour, or maybe you can create a bread flour or a flour that is good for cookies. So that was our major conclusion out of it. And also we figured out that with dry heat treatment, just the temperature elevation of the flour, we can change the fundamental properties of proteins in the flour, but our starches somehow remain unchanged from a structural perspective. But for extrusion, we could change both starch and protein from a structural point of view, the conformational point of view. So we were able to study the fundamentals of what is happening in the components of the flour, and also how these changes were reflected in the end product or the functional properties of the flour that we were obtaining, and how we could use it in different products.
So could you tell us a little bit more about how the different attributes of the two approaches might translate into a product application? Are you at that point of understanding based on the research that you've done so far?
So for the dry heat treatment, as we know, the starches did not really change in their structures. So that flour, we then hypothesized that, it could be used in developing a cake-like product or a cake product, because we need a batter-like structure to start for a cake. And in that, we need viscosity or consistency development. And that is provided mostly by starch. So that flour could be used for a cake product. For extrusion, we know that our starches and our proteins were completely changed from a structural perspective, and the starches could not really swell or provide that consistency in the batter or viscosity in the cake product development. So that flour we could use in products like cookies, where we don't need that elevation or volume increase in the product. So this is how these flours would be good for making different products, and those were the inferences that we figured out.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So maybe a question for Dr. Joye. Do you think the biggest potential for bean flour is in gluten-free products, or are there other applications too?
I think this is a big one. I think just in general, even not for the gluten-free market, but just in general, the bakery industry. So most proteins do have a better amino acid composition than wheat flour, for example. So it could be a nice add-on to a recipe in order to actually improve on protein properties. But yeah, there are other applications, like every application you can think about where you would use a flour, even like for thickening applications. Again, referring to the excellent work that Navneet did, right? So she has made different flours with different functionalities. And actually, the heat treatments were only one part of the tests and the experiments that she did. So she did way more than this. There are different functionalities you can trigger in those flours in order to have, for example, thickening of sauces and so on.
And I guess a big part of the beauty of this research is that it has value in producing clean label products.
Exactly.
Well, so what's next on the research agenda? I know you have some additional plans.
We are going to continue, of course, our research on pulse flowers. I think that is an area that Navneet has unlocked for our group, and I think she will be the leading example for much more research to come later on. But we're also going a little bit more to another direction as well. So we're going to start to look more into pseudo cereals as well. So there are also starch-rich flours. They come from small grains. They are high, so as I already said, in starch. And what we would like to do is find out if there's anything we can do with those flours in terms of gluten-free product development.
Did you want to add to that, Navneet?
I have kind of developed fundamental knowledge of starches and proteins, and beans are quite a hot topic nowadays. So they can be used in different other products. So I am interested in knowing, understanding or figuring out how I can use it in different, as an alternative to wheat or maybe dairy alternatives, and see where we can take this research on.
Food scientists Iris, Joye, and Navneet researched the properties of bean flour at the University of Guelph. Learn more about their work to make bean flour a viable option in gluten-free baked goods formulations in the October issue of Food Technology.
Thank you to this episode's sponsor, IFT Membership. Satiate your hunger for knowledge, connection, and career growth with an IFT membership. Discover the benefits and activate yours at ift.org/membership.
And that wraps up this episode of Omnivore. Thanks again to all our guests and my colleagues at Food Technology. Omnivore is produced and distributed by the Institute of Food Technologists. If you enjoyed today's show and want to learn more about Food Technology Magazine or how to join the conversation by becoming an IFT member, visit ift.org/membership. For more in-depth discussion about innovation in the science of food, check out IFT's other podcast, Side Dish, on the News and Publications page of ift.org. If you have comments or suggestions for future shows, just send us an email. The address is editors@ift.org. For the entire team at Food Technology and IFT, I'm Bill McDowell. Thanks for listening, and join us again for our next episode.